Hello everybody and welcome to what is the 100th video of Past Tense of Banana. This channel started way back in 2015 when I was teaching English in Istanbul, and the first video was a short, brief explanation of the difference between quick and fast. Originally, this channel was called How to Teach English, and that's because the original premise of the channel was to help people teach English either to themselves if they were working alone, or how to better explain the grammar and vocabulary to their students if they were a teacher. So with that in mind, I thought it would be worth going back to that original premise and taking a look at some online teachers and how they are explaining English to their online students. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gary. I have been teaching English for the better part of 30 years. Yeah. Not only do I teach students how to improve their English, but I also teach teachers how to better explain aspects of the English language. So, with that in mind, let's take a look at just 5 online English teachers and see how well they are explaining English to their students.
Can you name the opposites of these verbs in English? Intermediate level. Let's go.
So this idea of beginner, intermediate and advanced, although there is definitely some value to that, I don't think it is anywhere near as scientifically accurate as teachers and schools as well make out that it is, especially now that we live in a world where you can just very easily immerse yourself in English language, to the point where a native can. And I am sure that people pick up words and phrases that are way beyond the level of beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So I would never encourage my teachers to think about those 3 categories as being very specific. They are very fluid in their interpretation. There's a lot of scope within each one of those categories, to the point where I think that they really become meaningless outside of very general terms. And I certainly would not ascribe certain words to be intermediate and advanced. But let's have a look, see what this guy says.
Buy, sell, drop,
pick up,
pick, create.
Oh, no. The opposite of drop is not pick. The opposite of pick is to reject. So when you drop something, you must pick it up. You don't pick it. When you pick something, you select, you choose it. So therefore the opposite of drop is pick up. Okay.
Create, destroy, break, mend.
Okay.
Borrow,
lend,
shout, whisper.
Okay, I'll buy that. Yep, so in the end it was just, he got one wrong.
In the bus or on the bus? One of my students actually showed me a trick for this.
Like she didn't know previously?
Thank you, Oscar.
Okay, Oscar, well done, mate.
If you can stand up, then we say on.
What?
On the bus, on the train, on the plane.
If you can stand up, we say on? Okay, that's wrong. Okay, let's carry on.
On the boat, on the bicycle, on the motorbike.
Stand up.
If you can't stand up and you have to sit down,
Then
we say in.
So she is saying that the difference between on a form of transport and in a form of transport is whether we stand up and sit down. In fact, she's not saying that. Oscar is saying that. Oscar, I am deeply sorry to have to say to you, mate, but you are wrong. That is not the distinction between those two. And as an English teacher, she should know that. And at the very least, if she didn't know that, and that's fine. Look, we as English teachers, we don't know everything. But what we don't know, we should go and research. We don't rely on our students coming to us and saying, hey, teacher, I come across this. Because chances are, Oscar came across it on the internet and he's told his teacher, and now his teacher's put something out on the internet, and suddenly that becomes the golden rule. But it clearly isn't. And I've seen a lot of these videos where they talk about the preposition that we use with transport, and they always use the same examples of bus, car, taxi, plane, train. The best way to find out the rule of something is to take a look at the unusual forms of transport in this case. So, for example, she says that when you stand, you have to use on, but clearly that's not the case with a lift or an elevator. We go in the lift. We stand in the lift. We travel in the lift. So that alone should have been something that made her go, okay, that's not exactly right. Yes, it's true that we sit in a car, but we go on the dodgems at a fairground. To better understand why we say on and in with various forms of transport, I've made a video. It goes into much greater detail, and honestly, I'm sorry, dear, but she's wrong. She's absolutely wrong, and so is Oscar. And she should have done some research before she put this video out there.
Slam the door, open the door, close the door, lock the door, unlock the door, knock the door.
Oh, no. No, knock the door is not correct. It would be knock on the door. If you knock the door, then you are carrying the door somewhere and you bang the door on a piece of wood or a wall or something like that. That is to knock the door. To knock on the door is you use your fist and do that. So he's wrong with that.
What's the difference between under and below in English? Both under and below mean at a lower position than something else, but the main difference between them is that under is used more often and it...
Okay. The main difference is that under is used more often. I mean, look, just that alone should be something that make you go, really? That's the only difference, is the amount of time that the... I mean, how does he even know this? Has he done a survey to find that out? And I'm just baffled as to why any teacher would think that which one is used more often is an adequate distinction between two different words in the English language. I mean, just that alone would make me switch off, but we'll carry on.
It's also used for things that are covered by something else, so you can't see them. So for example, I would say, I keep a lot of books under my bed because the books are...
Okay, he's not wrong with that. That is actually the definition of under. Under must be on the same vertical parallel line with something higher than it. So yes, this thing would be covering this thing. So he's right with that. Okay.
By my bed. We also typically use under when there is movement happening at a lower position than something else. So for example, I would say, we walked under the bridge.
Okay, it's not because it's a form of movement. We're not using under because it's a form of movement. We are using under because the bridge is here and we will be directly, I don't want to say the word, but directly under the bridge. It will be of the same vertical parallel line and we will be... of a lower height to it. It's nothing to do with movement. You could stand under the bridge, you could have a cigarette under the bridge, you can urinate under the bridge, you can make love under the bridge. It's nothing at all to do with movement.
Because walking is a form of movement. Under is also a synonym of less than that we use when talking about age and time.
That's true.
So for example, I could say, I couldn't get into the club because I was under 21 and it took me just under an hour to finish the test.
True.
Below, however, can only be used when something is at a lower physical position.
Which is exactly the same use as under. It can only be used as something that is lower than something else. So I'm not sure what he means by that. Oh, maybe he means to do with the whole thing about age. Okay, so I'll give him that. It can only be used with position.
And then something else, and unlike under, it can stand alone as the last word of a sentence. For example, on Instagram, the caption of a post is always below the post, and at the end of my videos, I often say, write an example.
That is true, and really it is. So the thing to remember about under and below is that under does mean below. Something cannot be under something unless it is below something. Below simply means it is at a lower height in relation to something else. Again, I've got a video on my YouTube channel that explains in much greater detail the difference between low and under. It also actually does underneath and above. It looks at them all.
What's the difference between we had dinner and we had had dinner? We had dinner is the past simple. It means we had dinner at some...
Okay, so does had dinner. That also means something, an action that happened in the past.
Point in the past. We had dinner 2 hours ago. We had dinner is the past perfect. It's something that happened before something else in the past. When you arrived 2 hours ago, we had already had dinner.
Okay, so you can say we had dinner 2 hours ago. So, you know, I think that the problem with this woman in this video, and I have watched a few of her other videos as well, and she's very good at giving about 95% of all the information that you need. But that last 5% is so crucial to the overall understanding of the use of the grammar rule. And it's a fundamental part that's missing. And it is here. Basically, what she's saying is if it's just two actions that are happening in the past, we use past perfect and then we follow that up with simple past. But it isn't just that. I mean, you know, we could say there had been dinosaurs on the earth and I had my breakfast this morning, or I ate breakfast this morning. Those two actions, they're both in the past. And so according to her, I would have to say dinosaurs had lived on the planet, simply because I was going to say something else, another action in the past. The crucial bit that she is missing is the fact that these two actions must be somehow linked. So like the second action must be either a result of the first action, or the first action must have a consequence on the second action. So if we use her example, we had dinner 2 hours before you arrived, or whatever the sentence was, the implication of that is that we have already eaten, so we have no food for you, or we had already eaten, so we didn't want to go to a restaurant with you. The two actions, the action of eating and the action of their friends arriving, there must be some link. Otherwise, you would just put them in either the simple past or past continuous. So yeah, it's a vital thing that she's missing. Does she? I don't think she...
Dinner. So we had dinner before you arrived.
Okay, so she doesn't explain that absolutely essential component to past perfect. Okay, that's it. I've just picked 5 videos. I just wanted to see how this video looked and felt from my point of view. I'm not really somebody who wants to criticize teachers, but I do think that there is a lot of errors on the internet from people who claim to be English teachers and to understand the language. And it worries me that students are picking up misinformation, they're being misled, they're getting half the information and often missing the vital component part. So hopefully this video has gone some way to correct that balance. If you come across a video online that you would like me to review, then drop me a line in the comment section underneath. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.